Why did Titanic, which was built in 1,200 days, sink in just 2 hours? 10th April, 1912 was the day when the world's largest and most expensive ship, Titanic, was all set for its first journey. That day, the Atlantic Ocean was very peaceful, and there was no chance of a storm at sea. 1,500 passengers had already boarded the ship, and lakhs of people were standing on the docks to see the start of Titanic's first journey. Neither the passengers, nor the lakhs of people who were there to bid farewell, nor the staff of Titanic knew that the ship, which was going to leave in a short while, had 6 mistakes in its making, mistakes that would make this ship a victim of the worst accident. Today, you will know about the 6 mistakes of the most expensive, most luxurious, and most ambitious ship of its time, Titanic, which, if not made, then perhaps today, Titanic would have been famous, not because of its crash, but because of its success. After all, what were those mistakes? There were 6 mistakes which even Titanic's captain, Edward Smith, who had 40 years of experience, did not notice. Forget about the captain's 40 years of experience. These mistakes were not even noticed by the company that operated Titanic, White Star Line, which had experience of operating 107 ships. Moreover, these mistakes were not even noticed by the company that manufactured Titanic, Harland and Wolff, who had manufactured more than 500 ships even before Titanic. The construction of Titanic started in 1907, and after almost 3 years of hard work by 2,000 workers, the ship was ready. Now, the ship was completely ready, but the task of testing it was still pending. The trust of the makers of Titanic was shattered when Titanic successfully passed its first test run. As soon as it passed the test, it was marketed in different styles all over the world, with the heading, Unsinkable Titanic. An unsinkable ship had been made. Its first journey was to start from the city of Southampton in England. The date was fixed, 10th April 1912, and its destination was the city of New York in America. The price of traveling in a famous portion of Titanic was $30, and the cost of traveling in first class was $150, which sums up to thousands of dollars in today's time. As a result of this marketing, all the tickets were booked suddenly, and finally, the day came when Titanic was about to start its first journey. Mistake number 1. At exactly 12 noon, Titanic started its first journey, and with that, the mistakes of Titanic started coming to the fore. Captain Smith had received a deadline from owners that, in any case, he had to reach New York in just 7 days by April 17th. That is why the captain had kept the speed of the ship very fast from the beginning. And this was the first mistake of Titanic, due to the instructions and pressure given to Captain Smith by the owners. The reason was simple: to reach New York as soon as possible, because this was Titanic's first journey, and if it did not reach New York on time, then Titanic's reputation would have suffered a lot. Any vehicle in the world, whether it's a machine or where there is gold, has many operating procedures in which speed limit is also a part of these procedures. And that part was violated at the beginning of the journey. In a short time, the ship had left Southampton's port so far behind that now nothing was visible except the blue sea, far and wide. Mistake number 2. Now, 3 days had passed since Titanic started sailing. Apart from a short stay in France and Ireland, Titanic was continuously moving towards New York for the last 72 hours. It was the evening of 14th April 1912. There was silence and fog all around on the sea, due to which visibility had also reduced considerably. That very night, the captain of another outer ship, which was just a few hours ahead of Titanic, informed Titanic on the wireless about an iceberg floating on the sea. Experts believe that this warning was given at least 6 times, but due to the negligence of the operators, they missed this very important warning. Perhaps it was a normal thing for them, but this was the second reason for Titanic's sink, because the Titanic ship was the first luxury ship of its kind, and many VIPs were still present in it. That is why most of the staff was busy in the service of the first-class passengers. If this warning had been taken seriously, the whole scene ahead would have been different. Mistake number 3. The speed of the ship was also high, and they had also missed a very important warning. The Titanic was now rapidly filling up in the range of the iceberg. in a very fearless manner. But even now, the Titanic could have been saved because the guards of the ship were alert and were ready to give the captain the information of any iceberg from a distance. But one thing was not available with them to see from a distance, and that thing was binoculars. Yes, the guards were alert, but they could not see this from a distance due to the lack of binoculars. And this was the third troublesome incident of Titanic. Captain Smith got the news when the guards of the ship informed him that there was an iceberg the size of a football field right in front of the ship. But it was too late because the iceberg had come very close. Mistake number 4. Because in the Atlantic Ocean, icebergs are often encountered, which even big ships can handle easily. Perhaps Captain Smith also thought the same. On getting the news of this, Captain Smith ordered to shut down the ship's engine, and also ordered to change the direction of Titanic. Of course, Captain Smith tried a lot to avoid the iceberg, but the distance was so less that doing anything proved futile. The iceberg had now collided with the center of Titanic, but there was still hope. Hope that it could be saved after removing it. The hope remained that perhaps the iceberg would not damage the body of the ship, or it would have broken on its own as soon as it collided, and perhaps it would have happened like this if the fourth mistake of moving the ship did not work. Experts believe that the rivets on the moving body were not made of steel, but of cast iron. The job of these rivets is to keep large pieces of iron together, but cast iron is softer than an arrow. That is why the rivets opened due to pressure at the place where it hit the moving body. And then, the same thing happened which Captain Smith feared. Mistake number 5. Titanic had collided with an iceberg as big as a football field, and now, water had started filling in the lower part of the ship. This dangerous incident had alerted the entire staff and passengers, and also the owner of Titanic, Joseph Brooks, who was present in the ship. Of course, water had started filling in Titanic, but there was still hope of Titanic being saved, because Titanic was designed in such a way that even if its 3 floors got filled with water, it cannot sink. But it was unfortunate for this ship that after crossing 3 floors, water had reached the 4th floor, and now the matter had gone out of hand. Slowly, the ship was sinking in the water. Now, the time had come for the passengers to save their lives without worrying about the ship. Captain Smith issued an emergency alert on the radio. Till the time someone came to help, the plan was made to shift the passengers to the lifeboats. But on this occasion, the 5th mistake proved its effect. Yes, there was a total space for 32 lifeboats in the ship, but due to negligence, only 20 boats were kept. There were 1,500 passengers and only 20 boats. Mistake number 6. There was chaos everywhere. Everyone wanted to board the few boats. At 12:45, the first emergency boat was launched into the sea. But here, another 6th incident happened. In the chaos, the boats were launched into the sea without being fully filled, in which mostly first-class passengers were given preference. That is, those who were richer were seated first. If more passengers were made to sit in the boats, then so many human lives could have been saved. But now, the ship was sinking rapidly in the ocean. At 2:18, due to a short circuit, all the lights went off, and the next moment, the ship broke into 2 parts. It took 2 hours and 40 minutes for the Titanic to sink completely inside the ocean, and thus, 1,500 people died, drowning in the cold water of the Atlantic Ocean. There was one more thing to tell you. The temperature of the water at that time was -2 degrees centigrade, which means that, even if the passengers had taken a dip in this cold water, there was no chance of survival, because a human cannot survive for more than 30 minutes in such a low temperature. It is said that the number of people who died was much more than 1,500, because many of the people who were familiar with the staff of the ship had boarded the ship without tickets. Among those who survived, the highest number was of kids and women. On the other hand, Captain Smith was busy saving lives till the very end. He was the last man who jumped from the sinking ship. I hope you will like and share this video, along with your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.